So, Rinpoche, the first question, what was your life like before the moment you encountered the teachings? What was your childhood like? And were there any practitioners in your family?
There were a lot of practitioners in our family. You could say that everyone practiced, to some extent. But you can't really say that Dzogchen meditation practice was very widespread. There were very few people who really focused on meditation practice, but everyone had the aspiration to practice. When I was little, there were a lot of elders who were constantly reading texts of the tradition. And these texts they read were huge tomes. If you tried to read one of those texts in a day, even if you read all day, it still wouldn't be enough time. That's how they practiced. Well, speaking about myself, my father was a mantrika. Yeah, a tantric practitioner. Or, in Tibetan, a nakpa. Back in those days, during the height of the Cultural Revolution, it was completely forbidden to conduct any form of open teaching. But from time to time, he and I would share a small living space and stay overnight in the same room. Then, under the cover of darkness at night, he would quietly provide me with his invaluable personal guidance and secret instructions. At that time, he passed on many different practices, such as invoking protectors and things like that. He also served as an umdize in a community that was quite well known in our area. So that's how my very early years went by. Then, when I was about 15 years old, Nyima Tsultrim Rinpoche came to our area after he was released from prison. And then, at that time, I received instructions on the preliminary practices, instructions on the practice of FOA, the transference of consciousness, and I trained in this FOA practice. Nyima Tsultrim Rinpoche, upon arriving in the Dome region, in the Kham area, he began restoring the house of Shardza Rinpoche, building stupas to preserve, to hold the relics of Shardza Rinpoche, making prints of the collected works of Shardza Rinpoche. In general, wherever he went in that region, he would found new monasteries everywhere. He established about 20 monasteries or so. But he became a very famous teacher, and word about him spread very quickly and spread very widely. The thing is, there weren't very many lamas at that time, and Nyima Tsultrim Rinpoche, having spent about 6 years in complete seclusion without taking any food at all, became very famous for these accomplishments. And so he also founded a large number of new monasteries. And after that, he again arrived in our area from Domi. This was preceded by the following events. His assistant, his regent Sharab Lodro, and him, they went together to Menri, and upon arriving in Lhasa, Sharab Lodro had a dream in which he realized that his mother had died. So he asked Nyima Tsultrim Rinpoche for them to go to this area, to us. Of course, back then there were no phones or means of communication, so it was through signs in a dream that this was understood. So Nyima Tsultrim Rinpoche agreed, yes, and for 49 days, they carried out the necessary activities related to the funeral ceremonies and the subsequent actions. And during this time, many practitioners who wanted to receive teachings from such a famous Lama would come. I also went there, received various teachings, and did a lot of different work that, well, was assigned to me. And I also had a dream before this happened. In this dream, some great teacher, great Lama, told me that I needed to become a monk. Will you come with us? Well, whether it was actually Nyima Tsultrim Rinpoche or not, I didn't understand at the time. In the dream, well, some great lama was telling me this, so I agreed. And when Nyima Tsultrim actually arrived in our area, I thought that maybe that dream was about this teacher, but it still wasn't very clear. And at some point, I got the opportunity. The thing is, there were lots of big gatherings, really large, with lots of people, and they would all break for lunch. But Nyima Tsultrim Rinpoche didn't break for lunch. He didn't really eat meat, especially after those years spent pretty much without any food at all. He had a very calm attitude toward food. However, the various people who were gathered all around him at that time, quite naturally, of course, were much more interested in getting something to eat and would frequently leave their assigned seats, which eventually gave me the perfect opportunity to move much closer to Rinpoche himself. And that's exactly what I did, yes. I came closer, kind of sneaking glances at him. He noticed me, since he was alone, and said, "Come here, come over." I came over, and he kind of ruffled me up a bit, my hair, my ears, just a little. And then he said, "So, will you come with me?" I answered, "Yeah, I will." He said, "Oh, wonderful. But you can't just go like that. You need to ask for permission." Well, the thing is, my family used to be pretty well off, but back then, prosperity and well-being weren't exactly stable. So yeah, that's why I had to get permission from everyone. And well, everyone said that since that's the case and such a good opportunity, I should agree. "Go ahead," they said. They didn't try to stop me at all. But at first, my brother was really embarrassed by this decision. He said, "How am I supposed to stay here alone? How will I be able to help everyone? We have so many elderly people, grandpas, grandmas. What am I supposed to do with all of them?" But in the end, it was said, since Nyima Tsultrim Rinpoche said so, there's no way to refuse him, so that's what we have to do. Well, at first, my father wasn't exactly, how should I put it? He wasn't thrilled about this news. I was always by his side, wherever he went, always helping him. No matter where he went, I was with him. Whether it was necessary or not, it didn't matter when I was little. And at first, he also didn't really take it positively. But then he said that, as Rinpoche said, that's how it should be done. He said that to stand in the way of it is not the right thing to do. Such a fortunate fate has come, so we should listen to the words of the teacher. And after that, the decision was actually made to depart. We set out on a pilgrimage to Mount Kailash. During this time, I received a lot of empowerments, instructions, and transmissions, after which some of us from the group of pilgrims went on to the Menri Monastery, which is located in Tibet. Well, we faced many different difficulties during our journey, but in the end, we arrived, and I stayed there to study. I studied, focused a bit more on philosophy, also studied the preliminary practices, did them, and also went through grammar training again. At that time, I still couldn't read texts well. So I spent about 5 years at Menri Monastery in Tibet, after which I found out that to the Six Peaks Monastery from Menri Monastery in India, a famous great teacher named Trongsong Yongdrung Rinpoche, Ponlop Trongsong Yongdrung Rinpoche, was coming. He had this distinctive feature. He actually had hair growing right on his eyelids. And after I heard about his arrival, I went to the Six Peaks Monastery. And Podlop was teaching philosophy there. But before that, there was an event in my life. In our area, there were a few teachers, Toktins, meaning, well, realized masters. Rashi Tokden, Biru Tokden, Kalo Tokden. Well, you can find photos of him, especially Kalo Tokden. He has a really long beard. Yeah, and I met with him. The most important meeting in this regard was with Rashi Tokden, and I asked him, which lineage should I follow? Should I study philosophy, or should I seek out Dzogchen and focus on meditation practice? So he answered, Rashi Tokten said that you need to meditate. To seek out Dzogchen teachings, you don't need philosophy. I wasn't there alone. We were there together with the regent of Nyima Tsultrim Rinpoche, Sherab Lodro, and I was his assistant at that time. That's it. And Rashi Tokten told Sherab Lodro that he should study philosophy. That's what was said, so that's what I decided to do. So when I arrived at the Six Peaks Monastery and they asked me if I wanted to get into philosophy and study philosophy, we were all in pretty much the same situation there. I said, no, I'm going to do what Rashi Tokten told me to do. I don't need philosophy. At the same time, and in addition to that, I enrolled in the Shardza practice school, which was kind of focused on the practice of studying texts, practical ones left by Shardza, starting with the Ocean of Oral Instructions. But since naturally we all lived together, and I lived with those studying Tseni, that is philosophy, yeah, I also kinda picked up a bit of it along the way. So I studied it a little bit too. And so, a number of years went by like that.